Record. There we go. Right, everyone's starting to join now. Welcome, 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 everybody. Right, let's just wait for a few more people to come in. Hope everybody's well. The chat is on. Good morning, Said. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's a very frosty morning here in the UK. I'm actually getting a bit depressed. Is there anyone here who's not in the UK? And if so, whereabouts are you from? Anyone? Or is everyone here struggling in the frost and the cold and the dark and the winter? Yeah, London. I don't know why. This has got to be the first year. I think I've just really, noticed it. Um, it's like, yeah, I've turned on the heating in the car before I go out. Yeah, Ireland. Yeah, they're no different. Do you know what? I'd like to go back to Ireland. Richard in Berkshire. Not too far away from you, Buckinghamshire here. So, but it's it's very frosty, very frosty. Um, right, let's get to it. Well, we're obviously all very lucky here, cold in the UK. So yeah, there we go. It is what it is. We gotta, just yeah. Get through it. Right. So, one thing that I wanted to go through was, CPI data or whenever there's any big data release, Twitter starts flying, Instagram starts flying, YouTube's coming out about this is going to happen. It's going to be explosive, and yes, it is always explosive. But however, it's not necessarily the best time to capitalize, as we've, seen, or hopefully you guys are starting to, see over time that it's the most random days where nothing comes out. That obviously you're, really capitalize. And if you're on the right side of everything, you're obviously going to capitalize it even more. And I think I mean, for like your kind of what I would call them, retail brokers, big news events must be a dream because everyone's blowing, accounts and, because there's this unnecessary hype, around it. So, one thing that we obviously noticed, I don't know why they've changed it. Um, and I haven't worked out yet how to get rid of all this crap. So that they upgraded it in investing.com yesterday, and I need to have a look into it today because it's coming up with everything, and it's really annoying. So I think this morning, from what I saw, we've got some pound data, up as 10. Do you know what? I'm gonna ignore this because yeah, there's not no, pound is tomorrow. Sorry. That's why I'm being confused. But yeah, I definitely need to have a look into this because this is irritating me. However, today, right, what we need to be aware of, Ola, news. We got some retail sales and we got some PPI data. If I can sift through all this rubbish as well, but that's about it. Nothing else for today. We've got a couple of Fed members, speaking, Kashkari, Bostic, and Williams, but that's not going to affect us at all. Yeah, but I definitely need to go through this because I hate having all the one star stuff. I mean, we've even got news from Korea here, so I'm not interested. Right, and so yeah, for example, obviously, yesterday afternoon, unfortunately, we didn't have any triggers. Um, you know, so um, so yeah, but obviously we had a very nice, morning. We had two trades triggered. We had GBP USD, which we probably should have held both of our trades yesterday, but obviously again, we can look at it as we should have held them and it would have been X. But if news was the reverse, we would have had a nice big red day here, and so, we've got to I always like to take it up nicely. The most important thing is it's green. Yes, we've had probably two good days this month, three, and then we've had some very, very slow days, but obviously even days like this, they're green, so I'm happy. Yes, I was in a lot of positions. I was in three positions, with obviously three sets of three. However, you know, I'm, as long as it's green, I'm happy. And obviously that's a good kind of psychological way, to think about it. Don't think of your balance. Don't think of it as a the daily whole. Think of it as a month. Every day, even your worst day. Like I remember this one here. I think I hedged gold. I think I hedged euro here. Yeah, I hedged euro. And I basically hedged it to make sure that we obviously got in, at the right spot. And yeah, that basically helped me to obviously get out in a bit of proper profit. We're going to have good days and bad days, but we want to make sure a bad day is like this one here. Yeah. So it's still green. So let's obviously have a look at the overall outlook. Going through again our checklist. All right, starting off on the US dollar here, right? We've obviously got our 200 EMA, our 50 EMA. I'm going to tell you here that overall macro outlook is still very pro the US dollar. Do I think it's going to come back and test this 99? Yes. Do I think it could come back and breach and come into, say, for example, this area? Yes, but obviously, even if it does, I'm still pro the US dollar. I want to utilize this move because this move here is going to give me value for money to then enter and buy the US dollar. All right, so obviously these are all things that we've got to be thinking about all the time. Now, why are we pro the dollar? Apart from obviously overall macro data is very, very positive, and I'm going to work out a very, simplified way of how I can explain this, to everyone, but obviously I haven't done it yet. So I'm gonna work out a bit like the checklist, but obviously for now stick with the three checklist. Is price trading above both the EMAs? Yes. Is the 50 above the 200? Yes. Is it trending, going in course with these two first ticks? Well, is it trending to the upside? Yes. All right. So, the only thing you could argue is that this is an equal high. However, it's not made a new low yet. Like we mentioned yesterday, all right? Price was coming back here. If price had continued down here, it doesn't, then obviously soon as this is broken here, all right, we've then got to reverse our outlook. Yeah. But obviously, this is a very, very simple, basic way of explaining. So you are now pro, the dollar. All right. And obviously, what we want to utilize is we want the dollar to drop in price because we want to buy at a better value for money. All right. Where we're not looking to buy when the dollar is, up here. Yeah, we're looking to buy when it's here. All right. So just be aware of that. Right. Let's go through some of our outlooks anyway. We got USDJPY. Looking to target into this area here. As you can see here, we've already tested this area once, twice. Since it's broken through. So I do think this is a strong area, and to be honest, realistic. We didn't have much of a pullback yesterday. We haven't had much of a pullback this week at all. We've had a bit of consolidation here, but that is it. So price has just continued. So I just wanted to kind of be a bit optimistic, and overall yen is pretty weak too. So if we get some strength in the US dollar, then this one's going to bullet. If you look, yen is only up against CAD and it's up against Swiss. That's it, and it's only just up. You would probably argue it's around break even. Next on the list was gold. Obviously, again, we don't want to be buying from the top. This is going to be the safest place to buy. You can see why it's very, very obvious. We've got so much support here. It is crazy. So price is going to struggle to break through. If we just blitz, through this, can't really do a lot about it. We're then looking into potentially these lower areas here. However, I'm pretty happy with an entry round here. I think gold is going to stay in this range. If I'm honest, I'll be surprised if there's enough oomph for it to break out. So let's wait and see. I wonder how much this kind of ongoing feud between Jerome Powell and Trump is sort of holding gold up a bit, as well as obviously all the other conflicts we've had. Iran recently, lots. There's gold. At the end of the day, gold is always going to trend. And one thing that I'd said I was going to do this year, which I haven't yet, is I wanted to just buy just on the 1st of January, just buy gold. And obviously, if we had have done, we would be, it's crazy, isn't it? Like this is real basic training. We'd be like nearly 3,200 pips up. That's massive. That is massive. So, that'd be on one lot, it'd be 30 grand. That's how crazy it is. On 10 lots, 300 grand. It's mad. So yeah, just be aware of, how basic we can make trading. But I do want to, I am gonna kind of make a note of this, yearly low here. So if we do come back down and touch it, then obviously I probably will trial it out and just, see what happens. But yeah, let's wait and see. So yeah, that was obviously that one. And then we had GBP and Euro, again, pretty happy with this. We've obviously had our rejections. Value for money for me is if this comes up into this area. Same with Euro too. Um, you know, um, we just want this to come in and test this area here. Yes, everything's subjective. You could have yours ever so slightly lower if you wanted to. It could be around here, but I just like being a little bit more cautious. And then obviously finally AUD USD, which I just want to tap up into this area here, but it's not really my favorite pair to trade at the moment. You can see here, it's all stuck in this price range here. We had this huge, out here. Like I mentioned, anyone who likes Head and Shoulders here, there was a perfect Head and Shoulders. But yeah, overall here, it is a bit of a messy one because this level here is holding up very, very strongly. So let's wait and see. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Happy to answer. Happy to answer. Obviously, the copy is doing very, very well. So happy. Right, let's go through some of these. Try Forex Factory. Yeah, I used to use Forex Factory years ago. Just obviously habit. I reckon that there'll be a way around it. They're not going to make it any worse on investing.com. But yeah, Forex Factory is exactly the same. So yeah. Um, so they have a tab on the right where you can say importance now. You can select high and medium there. Let's just have a little look. A tab on the right. It used to be here, but it's gone. So I'm gonna have to look into it. Oh, I can do it here. Importance. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll play around with that a bit later, and then hopefully it'll, save it. Um, Good morning, Dan. Can you explain yesterday's hedge, please? What do you mean by hedge? Do you mean by gold, us, buying gold and then, selling the dollar? And so sometimes what you got to do is, separate it. Remember, gold is its own entity. It's just priced against the dollar. So, you can still have a strong dollar, but gold trending uh, to the upside. All right, I no, it might seem a bit complicated at the beginning, but the only time that you will get a very, and this is where gold is probably pretty basic to trade, because yes, what you've also got to look at is US dollar is also you know a safe haven. All right. So, but if any, let me try and draw and think of a good way to explain this. But any kind of feuds, so we've got the conflict happening in Iran. We've obviously got a bit of a feud between obviously Trump and the Federal Reserve. Obviously, he wants to take away their independence. He's not the first one to try it. It is quite bad because if he manages to achieve it and he takes away the independence, it basically gives the president complete control of a country. And obviously, I do think it's good for a country to have a separate monetary department, because it means that they are not biased. They don't care about, elections or anything. They just want to focus on the data, and it's not an easy job. So I do think the independence, everyone should have a monetary independent um, party who govern it, who obviously aren't, worried about, votes or anything. So that is a huge thing for America that's not really being spoken about very much, at the moment. Um, so let's wait and see what happens. We've obviously then got obviously all the other, standard conflicts. We've then got obviously a little bit of inflation worries all around, which brings interest rates into play. So yeah, all of these things are playing on. That's always going to pump dollar higher. And to be honest, all these things aren't ever going to go way. So remember, if there's any cause for any, uncertainty or anything, gold is always going to pump. All right. The only time that it won't pump is if there's, a bit like obviously when Trump was elected, there was a real big boost, and obviously gold absolutely dumped. All right, but obviously all that was, it wasn't a lack of support in gold. It was just, guys being like, right, you know what, we've got 30% of our allocation here. We're going to take 20% out. We're going to invest it because it's wild, it's, open season here. So, and obviously everyone made a shitload of money. And then obviously when everything calmed down, what ended up happening? Gold ended up pumping it again because they took their money out of stocks and put it back into gold. And now, that's exactly what happened. You can see here on a weekly, I think, do you know what? It doesn't even look like that much of an impact. It's that crazy. It wasn't last year. It was 24. Let me go on a weekly. There we go. Here. So gold obviously made this all-time high. No, not 2011. It was 24. I swear it was 24, 22, 23, 24. All right. It doesn't even look like that much of an impact. Oh, but it was. So it was this move here. That was it there. All right. Absolutely dumped. All right. But obviously in the big scale, it doesn't look that crazy. But that is a 22,500 pet move. All right. Trump was elected here. Price then swung for 3 weeks. What ended up happening? It then started to pump again once obviously all the hype was over, because everyone starts moving money, and then it just carries on, and that's what happens, because makes a high, hype's over, dumps a bit, and then hype comes back. Dumps a bit, hype comes back, dumps a bit, hype comes back. And if you can see here, have we had our dump here before it continues? Let's wait and see what happens. But yeah, that's basically how gold works. So if you are if you only ever bought gold, you're not really gonna, lose out. All right, you're only gonna big time lose out when you're trying to sell it. All right, because even if you were caught here, right, and you were, trying to buy here, yeah, all right, and you were caught here, you know that gold is coming back. All right, it always comes back. So yeah, can gold keep hitting record highs, or is it the old age true? What goes up must come down. No, like I mentioned, just zoom out on gold. It is the best chart you will ever see. All right. Especially with all the problems that's, happened. Yes, obviously early on we were kind of hidden, as soon as, social media comes out and everything all starts to get a bit hyped up, gold is like a, rocket ship. All right. Yes, it should come down, but everything has to be calm for gold to come down. Right. It's kind of the silent killer here where no one's really speaking about it, but it's flying. It's absolutely flying. So yes, it does, but I don't think we need to worry about it, like that. We've obviously just got to make sure, but again, if you buy gold, you won't go wrong. Morning. Yesterday, you mentioned you post the trades in priority, so first trade in your choice, and so on. So today, yep, USDJPY. So however I post them is how I grade them. All right. Yeah, it's always top, but to be honest, I'm happy with everything. Like I said, and I'm gonna do a bit better this because I was looking through my meeting notes the other day from one of my meetings from last year, and I've been doing it automatically, but it's almost like one myth that everyone speaks about, but it's very very true, is pat your entry where everyone's stop losses. All right, so that's pretty much what I tend to do. Yeah, we've just got it. It has been a relatively, slow January, and I know that everyone's eager to trade. I'm obviously eager for trades to, hit, but we've just got to be patient and just take what we can when it's there. That is trading, so that's obviously what I'm trying to drill in. You guys can obviously see I've got a very very calm way about obviously how I trade, and it's in the way that it's how I want to trade forever. So yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. But yeah, does anyone have any more questions? Otherwise, we'll end it here. I hope one of them taps. We've got what have we got? We've got gold coming down, euro, GBP. I mean, it's not looking that great this morning. Um, USDJPY just want a little pop down here. So yeah, that's we'll wait and see. I'll keep everyone updated. Um, are you sticking to these pairs that you post daily? I mean, I've only got to show you since November. We started it on the 14th. So, yes, I am very, very happy. I think since the 14th, we've had one losing day here. That's it, just one. So yep, I'm happy. I mean, I can add pairs in if you guys want, or I can do a little bit of a different kind of trading thing. But then, is this the right thing to be thinking about? Or is it, that, it's just everyone's eagerness, everyone's, FOMO, we're obviously, yes, not trading as much as obviously what we used to. However, we don't lose as much as what we used to, and so it's, for every, I think it is just about, taking it on. I had some drinks actually with a friend of mine, and he he had a friend with him from Saudi Arabia, and he'd said, you know, we obviously got chatting, and he was, you know, and we were saying, look, how does, you know, how do, you know, Saudis look at making money, you know, and he goes, we don't like quick money, we like slow money. You know, and it makes, you know, sense how, you know, you think slow money is slow, but obviously, like the copier is proving, like, you know, this is proving it adds up really, really quickly. And actually, you know, if you take into, you know, consideration, the more active you are, the more chance you got of blowing an account, right? And, you know, say for example, doing you are doing you know, really, really well, your, you know, account's doing this, you know, but if you're over trading and you can't take that, you know, loss or can't resist, you know, FOMO, you end up right back here. So most people's trading accounts, their history over the years will look like this. All right. You know, so that is what it looks like. You know, and we can all hold our hands up. This is what mine, you know, looked like over probably the first 4 years. You know, however, if I'd have just not been, you know, such an idiot and done something like this, where it's, you know, just slowly coming up, you know, nothing major, nothing bad, but slowly coming up. You know, you can see my accounts of doing this break even, break even. You know, you're then the confidence you've got here, the ticking point happens. I always, you know, say every trader has a clicking point. All right. And when it clicks, your account goes like this. All right. But wouldn't you rather it was doing this, you know, slowly before you get there and then it scales? Then keep doing this. All right. What ends up happening every time this drop happens, you know, where you blow it, you know, the amount that you're blowing adds up. Yeah. You know, it might be 1K, 2K, 20K, 30K. You know, I've spoken to guys who it's like 400K, you know, and then it's really, really hard to trade like this because all you're thinking about is the amount of money that you've, you know, lost. And actually, you then have to take into consideration that if you've, you know, lost a lot of money, your break-even point might be up here. So naturally, everyone wants to do this move rather than actually, you know, thinking about it and just letting it tick over. You know, 12 months time, we're back to break even. But what you don't realize is the journey of doing this is unbelievable. Your confidence, your routine, your structure, everything. You once you've done it, you will then fly, you know, because you've achieved it, but you've achieved it in, you know, you almost haven't you know, fluked it. I always like to say, you know, on journals, yes, yeah, yes, you know, I'm very, very proud of mine, but I can tell you, you know, mine didn't look like this probably, you know, even though I was profitable, mine didn't look like this even 3 years ago. All right, you know, so, you know, I want to see everyone have some, you know, red days. Like I mentioned to a guy, I don't think he's in here, Adam, but you know, I mentioned to him yesterday, you know, I want to see you go win, win, lose, win, win. All right, because what happens with everyone's journal is they'll go win, 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 blow it blank, you know? So I want everyone to get in a habit of, yes, do you know what? I've woken up today, I've lost £200 trading, but I made £300 yesterday and I've made £300 today. All right. Or I made 20 quid yesterday. I've lost, you know, 30 quid today, but then tomorrow you go and make 20. You know, Friday you go and make 20. All right. That's how you've got to, you've just got to, you know, losing is the hardest lesson. It probably was my hardest lesson. It took me the longest time to actually learn and swallow it, be humble, um, and to be honest, once I learned it, there was no stopping me. So yeah, but no, hope you guys have enjoyed this. We went off a bit topic towards the end, but it's good to obviously open up conversations because I've got so many stories here. Yeah, so yeah, the more the chat's popping off, the more it like triggers my brain. So right, I hope everyone has a great day today, and yeah, I'll be back a bit later on. Have a good one, guys.